Good evening and welcome to the Carnegie Town Hall. The regular meeting of the City Planning Commission will be called to order and we will begin with a few introductory remarks. The City of Sioux Falls Planning Commission serves as the advisory board to the City Council. It is the responsibility of the Planning Commission to consider and make recommendation on land use and zoning matters. Conditional use permits and minor amendment requests will have final action here this evening, unless appealed to the City Council in writing within 5 days. Any decision made on preliminary subdivision plans or future land use amendment requests tonight will be referred to the City Council for final action at the third council meeting of the month. Any decision made on rezoning requests, major amendments, or ordinance amendments tonight will be referred to the City Council for final action at the first council meeting of the month. Council meetings are held at 7 p.m. here in the Carnegie Town Hall and are televised. Any action taken here tonight on a final development plan is final. The Planning Commission will first approve the consent agenda and then the regular agenda. In order to place certain non-controversial items on the Commission's consent agenda, planning staff and the Planning Commission applies the following criteria. First, the request conforms with the City 2015 Land Use Plan. Second, the planning staff recommends approval of the request. And third, there are no audience members present or written comments received in opposition to the request. And fourth, the application meets all conditions and requirements of the ordinance. Once the consent agenda items are approved, you are free to leave. For the regular agenda, the following normal public hearing procedure will be followed. By first requesting planning staff to present a brief report on each item. Second, the petitioner will be requested to come forward and make a statement or answer questions. After the petitioner, anyone from the audience who wishes to address a particular agenda item shall be recognized. Then, the Planning Commission will discuss the matter further and take appropriate action. We ask that anyone addressing the Planning Commission other than staff move to the podium microphone, identify themselves, and state their address for the record. Please limit your comments to less than 5 minutes. As a courtesy to everyone here tonight, we ask you please either turn off or silence your cell phone and pager. This meeting is being televised on Channel 16 and will be rebroadcast Saturday at 10 a.m., Tuesday at 7 p.m., and Wednesday at 1 a.m. Thank you for your cooperation. Good evening. Before I start with the consent agenda, we have a special presentation. Jeffrey?
Thank you. I won't embarrass him too much by making him stand up front, but we have a special recognition this evening for one of our commission members. He will be stepping down after this evening's meeting, and we have a plaque and a little prepared speech for our planning commissioners. So for our audience members at home and here tonight and our planning commissioners, David Van Veldhuizen. He started serving on May 6th of 1996, and this evening will be his last meeting. He served 12 years for the Planning Commission. For 12 years, you have exemplified civic dedication, pride in the City of Sioux Falls by serving on the Planning Commission. In your Planning Commission service, you have attended over 300 Planning Commission meetings, including joint city and county meetings in Lincoln and Minnehaha County. You've served as both Planning Commission chairperson and the vice chairperson. You've served with over 20 other Planning Commission chairpeople. You've served on study groups and made recommendations to the City Council for various ordinance revisions, including the telecommunications study group, the off-premise sign study group, and the signage study group. You've served under 2 mayors in city government. You've supported and helped adopt the last 2 2015 growth management plans in 1996 and 2003. And he's participated in approximately 5,000 public hearing recommendations to City Council. David has also served on the capital improvement program for, I believe, the last 5 years. Your civic dedication and pride is also demonstrated by the manner in which you have had outstanding meeting attendance, served on the task force committees, and supported the planning and public hearing process. You have adhered to the city's comprehensive plans for the betterment of Sioux Falls and all its citizens. You are truly amazing because you have found time to balance your career as a professional businessman and a civic volunteer, and even found some time for family and travel. Dave, on behalf of the city officials, Mayor Munson, city council members, past and current planning commissioners, the planning staff, and all city employees, it is truly my pleasure to present to you this evening a token of our appreciation for 12 years of dedicated service to the city of Sioux Falls. Members, I'd like you to please give a warm ovation to Mr. David Van Veldhuizen.
Thank you, David, for your service. All right, I will start the meeting by reading the consent agenda. Item number 1 is approval of the April 2nd, 2008 minutes of the regular meeting. Item 2 is plats. Item 3, rezone C4 Planned Commercial District to the RC Recreation Conservation District for Parks and Recreation Services at 3200 West 12th Street. Item 4, rezone AG Agriculture District to the O Office, RA1 Residential, RS2 Residential Districts for future development of allowed land uses at East 10th Street and 6 Mile Road. Item 5, rezone RS2 Residential District to the RC Recreation Conservation District for future park use adjacent to the new elementary school at east side of 6 Mile Road, approximately 1,300 feet north of 265th Street. Item 6, rezone RC Recreation District, Recreation Conservation District to the Marion Place Planned Development District for future development of allowed uses east of 4605 West Homefield Drive. Item 7, rezone AG Agriculture District to the RC Recreation Conservation, RS2, RD, and RA1 Residential, O Office, and C4 Planned Commercial Districts to allow future development at southwest corner, Madison Street and Powder House Road, which is future South Dakota 100. Item 8 is rezone from the AG Agriculture District to C4 Planned Commercial District to the C2 General Commercial District to allow construction of a motel at 1220 through 1321 East 63rd Street North. Item 9 is rezone in the AG Agriculture District to C2 General Commercial District to construct a motel at 1310 and 1401 East 63rd Street North. Item 10 is rezone from the RS2 Residential District to the S Institutional District to reflect current land uses at 2900 South Cliff Avenue. Item 11, rezone from the Platinum Valley Planned Development District to the RD Residential District to reflect twin home and fourplex uses at Witzke and 74th Street, Subarea B of the Platinum Valley Addition. Item 12 is a major amendment to subareas A, B, and C, Roosevelt Park Planned Development District for adjustment of subarea boundaries at east side of Ellis Road between 26th Street and 41st Street. Item 13 is a major amendment to preliminary subdivision plan, Pinewood Addition at southwest corner of West 85th Street and Southwestern Avenue. Item 14, major amendment to subareas A, B, and C, Nob Hill Planned Development District to change subarea boundaries at southeast corner of West 85th Street and Southwestern Avenue. Item 15 is a special use permit in subarea A, Railroad Center Planned Development District to allow on-sale alcohol as an accessory use to a restaurant at 401 East 8th Street, 126 and 128, Suite 126 and 128. Item 16 is a conditional use permit in the RS2 Residential District to allow residential duplex at 1709 East 26th Street. Item 17 is a conditional use permit in the C3 Central Business District for on-sale alcohol as an accessory use to a restaurant at 600 North Main Avenue. Item 18 is a conditional use permit in the C3 Central Business District for on-sale alcohol as an accessory use to a restaurant at 210 South Main Avenue. Item 19 has been withdrawn, but item 19 is a conditional use permit in the C4 planned commercial district to allow a church at 2900 West 12th Street. Again, number 19 has been withdrawn by the applicant. Item 20 is a minor amendment in subarea B of the Remington Point Planned Development District to reduce required side yard setback from 10 feet to 8 feet to allow surface parking at northwest corner of 69th Street and Western Avenue. Item 21 is the final development plan in subarea B, Remington Point PD, to construct an office building at northwest corner of 69th Street and Western Avenue. Item 22 is the final development plan in subarea C of the Prairie Green Plan Development District to construct a urology clinic at 201 West 69th Street. Item 23 is the final development plan in subarea B of the 41st Street and Sycamore Avenue Plan Development District to construct an office building at northwest corner of 41st and Sycamore. Item 24, final development plan in subarea G of the Taylor Plan Development District for the construction of a bar, 57th and Marion Road. Item 25 is a preliminary subdivision plan for Grand Arbor Commercial Addition to develop commercial and residential uses at West 85th Street and Southwestern Avenue. Item 26 is a preliminary subdivision plan for Willow Ridge Addition, a residential subdivision at East 10th Street and 6 Mile Road. Item 27 is a preliminary subdivision plan for Foss Fields Addition to develop commercial, residential, and office uses with the regional BMP at southwest corner of Madison Street and Powder House Road, which will soon be South Dakota 100. Those are the items on the consent agenda. Is there anyone from the audience who would like to have any of those moved to the regular agenda? Yes. Can you just come up to the microphone, please?
Lot 9 on 63rd Street, and I'd like to further hear more on the 8 and 9 of the rezoning for the hotel, the motel.
Numbers 8 and 9?
Yes, I believe
Okay.
so.
We'll move those to the regular agenda. Anyone else care to move any items from the audience? How about from the Planning Commission?
Mr. Chair, I would like to move items 17 and 18 to the regular agenda.
Item 17, which is a conditional use permit, C2 Central Business District for on-sale alcohol as accessory use to a restaurant, 600 North Main Avenue. And item 18 is conditional use permit in C3 Central Business District for on-sale alcohol as an accessory use to a restaurant at 210 South Main Avenue. We'll move those. And then I'll just read the descriptions on item 8 and 9. That's a rezone from the AG Agriculture District and the C4 Planned Commercial District to the C2 General Commercial District to allow construction of a motel at 1220 through 1321 East 63rd Street North. That's item 8. And item 9, a rezone in the AG Agriculture District to the C2 General Commercial District to construct a motel at 1310 and 1401 East 63rd Street North. So if we move items 8, 9, 17, 18, and item 19 has been withdrawn, is there a motion to accept the, or approve the revised consent agenda?
Mr. Chair, I'll move for approval of the regular agenda, item number 8, 9, 17, and 18 being added to the regular agenda, and number 19 being withdrawn.
That was for the consent agenda, David?
Was for the consent agenda.
Second.
That's okay. All right. All those in favor of the revised consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The revised consent agenda is passed. So the regular agenda, we will add items 8, 9, 17, and just those four items. 8, 9, 17, and 18 will be added to the regular agenda. Is there a motion to approve the revised regular agenda?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Motion is second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The revised regular agenda is approved. So our first item tonight will then be item 8. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chair, my name is Dave Loveland. I'll be representing planning staff on this item. Because items 8 and 9 are similar and the staff reports are similar, I will be presenting them at the same time, but they need to be voted on separately. The applicant is proposing to rezone the property from the AG Agricultural and C4 Planned Commercial District to the C2 General Commercial District to construct a motel. Under the 2015 Future Land Use Plan, the area under consideration is depicted as commercial uses, and a motel use is a permitted special use in the C2 district and a conditional use in the C4 district. Access will be taken from Cliff Avenue using 63rd Street North, and at the time of development, the applicant is required to meet with Public Works to determine the status and associated improvements to 63rd Street North. The site does have a history of some drainage issues as relayed to us by the Public Works Department, and those should be resolved at the time of building permit application. Because the application conforms with the 2015 Future Land Use Plan for commercial, staff is recommending approval of the rezoning on both items. Both items are similar. So,
Any questions for Dave? Okay, thank you. Is the applicant here, please?
Brenda Schmidt. I'm here to represent Kellyan's Limited and Bob Miller, who is the other, number 9. And my address is 727 East Inverness Drive, and business is 3205 Simcoe Avenue.
Do you have anything to add?
Just that I think it'll be a great improvement to the area, and of course the drainage issue we're aware of, and the reconstruction of 63rd Street. So if there's any questions, I can address them.
Brenda, did you have a neighborhood meeting up here in regards to your project?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Is there anyone from the audience who would care to speak on this item? Item 8.
Yes, I am Jared Lawrence at 1500 East 63rd Street North, which is like legal, not Lot 9. And your current picture up there is very well the agricultural ground that you showed to the east is no longer there. And then the strip of trees is no longer there. There has now been a retention pond, and that entire field has been upgraded into streets with storm sewers, dumping water quarterly to the interstate, which in turns runs it through my backyard. And if they develop the other side of me, as now I sit in the valley, so to speak, of the two lands on both sides, east and west, and that's going to bring more water to me. And I just want to make sure that is addressed before I'm completely flooded out. I'm not, this year I'll be lucky to even put a garden in, and that garden's been there. My parents were there on the properties as well, and I grew up having a garden, and I'm not going to be able to do that this year with the water that's coming off of the development in the agricultural field. And I just want to make sure that, that is what I'm here for.
Okay. Any questions for Jared?
Jared, are you the only homeowner in that area?
No,
Is
there
there
is
others?
another home, there's 2 more homeowners here. There's only 3 houses left on 63rd Street.
And which one are you, Jared?
I am right as his cursor is, the right roof just to the left of where his cursor is, right there. That would be my house, yes.
Other questions?
Jared, do you think it would help if you guys had a chance to meet with the petitioner and see how they're laying this out, engineering this?
There would have been a lot of answers, questions been able to answer, yes. I've heard rumors that my road will be closed down. I'm Mapleton Township, so my fire department and my rescue comes from Renner, and that is the direct line from Cliff Avenue, Highway 115 to 63rd Street. I've heard rumors that they're closing the road down, they're putting it next to the interstate, they're gonna make us drive down an alley road, which is nothing more than a big mud hole that teenage kids use to whoop and raise mud clots in.
Jared, the idea of having a Kelly in there isn't offensive to you. It's how it's going to be
No,
built.
absolutely not. It's a good place for it. There's only 3 ways to get off the interstate, and Cliff Avenue is one of them.
Your concerns is the construction.
Yes, my concerns are water, shed, and just what their plans are, generally what their plans are. Are they going to close me off and I have to somehow come down this road that is impassable? There hasn't been a vehicle to come down it. There's been 6 of them stuck in the last 2 weeks. And the rain that we had last night completely covered the road, swamped out both lots on both sides of the road adjacent to these developments that they're talking about now.
I think some of your answers will have to come from the engineering office. I understand. You had how many other neighbors here with you?
There are 2 other neighbors here.
Are their concerns the same as yours?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for Jared? Okay, thank you. Anyone else care to speak on this item?
My name is Charles Lawrence, 1512 East 63rd Street North. Jared is my brother. We own adjacent lots. I just pretty much want to reiterate what Jared was saying in that the 2 concerns we have is, one, the industrial development that is taking place directly east of us in the what used to be a cornfield. Like you said, Ken, the engineer is where we need to go with this. We've had numerous conversations with the City of Sioux Falls engineers.
You have?
Yes, we have. And it seems that, well, money goes where politics is at. They put in a retention pond to hold back water from this development, and through the course of the last 12 months, the developer has been filling in retention pond. It is now half the size it was 14 months ago. As a result, water has definitely been an issue now this spring. The second issue I have is with Kellyanne coming in and putting a motel in this place, where is our access going to be? They want to close 63rd Street off. There is no other access into this property. Simply is not. Cost-wise, for them to come in off of a southerly direction is going to be phenomenal. My guess would be $1 million or better to put a street in.
63rd is a city street.
63rd is a city street up to about 1,000 feet off of 115. Then it is a county road. We are in the county, Minnehaha County. We are not in, we are Brandon Valley School District. We are Mapleton Township. The City of Sioux Falls has annexed the land completely surrounding us from 60th Street to the interstate, north and south, and from the development to the east to approximately 1,000 feet from 115. So roughly 4 city blocks still remains in the Minnehaha County, not in the city of Sioux Falls.
Do you want to be in the city of Sioux Falls?
Right now, there's no infrastructure. Right now, the water being a permit, the city has told us that they don't take responsibility for what's going on down there. The county has told us they do not take responsibility for what's going on down there. So all in all, we've just been brushed off. Whether we want in the city limits or not isn't the issue right here. The issue is that who wants to come in and take responsibility for what's happening down here? They want to develop it, fine. More power to them. They got the money, they can do it. But we're going to stand here and tell you what is really going on down there. And right now, it's not fair.
Any other questions?
So do you know for sure that 63rd Street is being closed off then?
Unless you can show me plans that show otherwise. I haven't seen no plans. So I really couldn't say emphatically.
Engineering hasn't mentioned
No.
that.
And neither has the developer. We have not been contacted by anybody.
You haven't had any contact
None
with
whatsoever.
the hotel developers at all?
No.
All right, thank you. Anyone else care to speak on this item?
On the other one up there, I'm on 1405.
Can we get your name,
63rd,
please?
Carlisle Schlim. And I got 2 acres up there right beside where they're going to build on, it'd be right on the west side of me there. I am no problem with it, but I want to know how, that's the other, I'm right on I'm the little white square there. No, that's the lot to the west of me. Yep, that whole thing there, that's mine. I was half underwater last night, 3/4 underwater from that runoff. I've been flooded out twice in the last 4 years because of this stuff. I pumped 25,000 gallons of water out of my basement twice. And it's all because of runoff and some bad engineering someplace there. They can put their Kelly in there, but I want an exit. I want a road coming through there. That back road, there's no way of putting a road in there. They've got everything from a couple loads of 3 by 6 inch rock. They've disappeared in there. They've got the kitchen sink in there too, and that's disappeared. So I don't know what it'd take to build that road up, but it's just a sinkhole. It is a sinkhole. You can put anything in there, and less than a month later, it's gone. You can put all the gravel in the world on there. You'd have to bridge it somehow. But it's not a road you can build on.
Okay.
So
Questions for Carl?
Mr. Chair, I have a question. The water you're talking about that's making its way onto your property in your basement, is it coming from the east?
it's coming off of that development up there, and it's coming out of the south too, coming across 60th Street.
From the south?
Yes.
What's causing that?
Well, whoever did the road down there, they built, there's a truck place down in on 60th Street, way down southwest, way down south further yet. It comes down, now go to your left there. It's over on this corner over here, right in there. It comes right across there's probably, 30 acres up there, and then all that water comes right down, and it goes right on and right across the road. And
So
I'm
it's-
getting that
so-
too. So that water should be going around and heading
So
south.
So your issue with the hotels is not that they can fix drainage east of you or south of you?
No.
Because they're going to have the same problem.
Yeah,
But the road, the access.
the access road, got to have a road in and out, because there's no other way in and out.
They're going to, I think everybody needs to understand, if I understand this correctly, that if the water's coming from the east and from the south, that the hotel people will have the same problem.
No, they probably won't, because there's a little hill, there's a hill on my side, on the west side of the road there, and they won't have that problem, except if they go just on the north side of my place, and they can build that up, I suppose, real easy, but
And if the
but
ci-
it'd be a real drainage problem if they tried to fill in on the north side of my property. That'd just bank it all in. There's a excess. There's a drainage supposed to go under the interstate, but the Corps of Engineers, they screwed that up, and the water's coming north instead of going south. So if they ever redo the interstate through there, they'll have to dig that up and redo that.
We tend not to get too involved in engineering issues, but I think we can all understand that you're concerned about access.
Yep.
Any other questions for Carl?
I do have one more. Regarding the detention pond, you said the problem from the east. One of the
Yeah.
neighbors said that was being filled in.
Oh,
Do you
that-
feel that's part of the problem?
Oh, that's a big part of the problem there. It was, last night, it was just running right over the top of it. It was coming down there like a river.
So if the detention pond wasn't being filled in, it might be working?
I don't know. The detention ponds is pretty small for 40 acres of water. I'm in that kind of business too, you know. I do curb and gutter, and for that much property, that detention pond is way too small.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Carl. I think we need to move on. So is there commission action on item 8?
Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion for a deferral for 30 days. I know this is the construction season for Kellyanne. I think it would have been really, really nice if they'd had a neighborhood meeting with these folks, just to show what they're doing, where they're going to send the water. I notice it's a 2-acre parcel. I believe Kellyanne will be required to provide a BMP for anything over an acre. The road issue, if it's a city street, I have a real hard time seeing that getting vacated. But I think that's some questions that, I think if we'd have had a neighborhood meeting, I think a lot of this could have been answered for these folks. The drainage to the east and south, I don't know how you deal with that, especially if both entities, city and county, are saying, hey, not our problem, but I'm sure there might be more to that also.
There's a motion for a 30-day deferral.
I'll second that motion.
All right, there's a motion and a second for a 30-day deferral. Is there commission discussion?
Is this just for item 8, Mr. Chair?
Just for item 8.
I think in addition to that, we would want to have Brenda get these folks' names and numbers here yet this evening and have a little sit down with them and maybe with her engineer and just show them what they're going to do and how they're going to do it.
Any other discussion on item 8? All right, so the motion and second is for a 30-day deferral until our next meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Item number 8 is deferred until the next meeting. Item number 9 is a rezone, and I'm looking for commission action on item 9 as well.
Make a motion for a 30-day deferral.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and second for a 30-day deferral. Any commission discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Item number 9 is deferred until our next meeting. The next item that we will hear is item 17, conditional use permit in the C3 Central Business District for on-sale alcohol as accessory use to a restaurant at 600 North Main Avenue. Staff report, please.
The applicant is requesting a conditional use permit for on-sale alcohol as an accessory use to a restaurant. This is a new restaurant called Taste of the Big Apple in the Larson Square portion of the Uptown to the Falls development. The existing land use, as noted, is a multi-tenant mixed-use building with offices and commercial on the lower portion of the building. The applicant, there is one issue that may need to be brought up. The applicant has indicated the hours of the facility to be 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. However, some language had been included that the close time is not limited to 11 p.m. but limited to 4 a.m. After staff had further discussion with the applicant, he indicated that the close time was related to delivery service, not to the actual opening and operation of the restaurant. It was the 4 a.m. was possible up for delivery service. And the applicant should be prepared to address any questions. But because this is, we are recommending approval of this applicant with two conditions. The first is that this is approval for this applicant only, and the second is that a security management plan approved by the crime prevention officer be approved prior to the business opening.
Okay, any questions for David?
David, I haven't been through the Larson building yet. Are there apartments in the upper levels there?
I believe there are. The applicant should address that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you. The applicant, please.
Good evening. My name is Andrew Meyer, 2115 South Phillips Ave. I am partner owner to Karen McFarland. I'm representing her tonight.
Yep.
Any
Anything
questions?
you want to add?
Dealing with the aspect of, there's 20 lofts up above us. Our business hours are to start out with at least 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. Fridays and Saturdays we're doing 11 a.m. to 12 o'clock p.m.
Any questions?
I'm sorry,
Andrew?
what did you say your name was?
Andrew Meyer.
Andrew, how do you do? I think that's a neat idea what you're doing down there, and it'll be a nice focal point. Last month we had a business that wanted to start a restaurant downtown. They also wanted a liquor license as accessory use. As a commission, downtown Sioux Falls had sent one of their representatives. There was some concern about the hours of a restaurant with alcohol as an accessory use. I visited with that individual today. He was going to drive by your place. He was not aware that you were going to be on the item tonight. And I guess the first thing I'd say, did you have a neighborhood meeting in regards to you having getting alcohol
I
license?
personally did not know.
The lease that you have on there, do they set an hour limitation on you?
No.
You indicate your hours of operation would be from 11 to 11. Is that up in your business plan?
Yes, it will be.
Would you have a problem with the stipulation that you close the business at 11 o'clock?
No. But on Fridays and Saturdays, we'd like to stay open until midnight, just because it's a weekend and there's a lot of events that come through downtown. We'd like to be a part of that.
Okay. Thank you, Andrew.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone from the audience care to speak on this item? Okay. If not, is there commission action on item 17, conditional use permit?
Go ahead.
Excuse me. Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion to approve this item with the stipulations. I would like to add a stipulation that the business be closed at midnight on the weekends, 11 o'clock during the week. I know that's a little counter to what we did last month with the other individual. I think we put that one at 11 o'clock with him. But I'd say 11 o'clock during the week, 12 o'clock on the weekend.
Okay, there's a motion with three stipulations. The third one with the business hours closing at 11 p.m. during the week and midnight on the weekend. Is there a second?
Well, Mr. Chair, I'll do a second for discussion.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Commission discussion.
Can you clarify what weekend means? What nights would they be eligible to stay open to 12 midnight as opposed to 11 p.m.?
Well, that's a good question. I guess I look at the weekend as a Friday and Saturday night. That might be a good question for Andrew again, or what he would consider his midnight operation.
I would agree for Sunday through Thursday being 11 p.m. and then Fridays and Saturdays alone being 12 p.m.
Mr. Chair, Andrew, are you sure this is something that is acceptable to you?
Yes.
Can we clarify that you're talking about the whole business closing? Because there was a reference to staying open until 4 a.m. for delivery service. Does that mean that would be closed as well? Or
I
are you
guess
just
what I would
referring to the
consider
alcohol?
open is open to the public. I think what you're talking about is employee type
Just delivery
work where
alone,
you're not
yes.
serving the public.
I think one of the things that I would like us to discuss is, this area of downtown is really information in terms of what future uses are going to be down there, and I certainly would like to have a process for being able to revisit this, so that if at a later point in time, this restriction that we put on this business needs to be reconsidered, and maybe that process already exists, that they would just come back in front of us. Because my only hesitation in what we're doing here tonight, and it certainly is every time we consider these applications, is that as those areas change, just know that we should be open to those changes as a community.
Mr. Chair, I tend to agree with Anita, and I struggle putting time limits on businesses when that's, in terms of liquor or alcohol, already regulated in terms of the hours of operation. We haven't had anybody show up tonight to oppose your original proposal. And so, again, you're agreeable, but I don't know if there's no opposition to those sorts of things. I'd rather let the business person who's starting a business certainly have some flexibility.
I agree.
I think where I'm coming from on this is, I believe there are apartments in that building. I think if we require a neighborhood meeting, I have a feeling maybe some of the tenants in the building aren't aware of just what your operation maybe is going to be, or, I don't know that.
I know where you're heading with that, Kenny, and I'm not sure that there really is much of a neighborhood right now. And, certainly if the developer and the leaseor of that property, I think that they would have put some sort of protection into this building if that was a concern of theirs, or and they're not here tonight representing for their tenants or whoever might ultimately be in that space. So, that again is why I hesitate a little bit, because I want that flexibility for that area if it does indeed want expanded hours and a little livelier feel for downtown. And I know we've had these conversations back and forth over the years. So
You sounded like the argument I was making last month on
I know, Ken.
I think the difference between last month and this month is that last month there was opposition voiced by the downtown Sioux Falls people. This month, just let me ask Andrew, how many apartments or how many residents are in that building at this point?
There is 20 lots and 14 are leased. 14 of those 20.
Are they leased?
They're leased, yes.
They are leased, okay.
Did your business plan go in front of, I'm not sure who is leasing that building?
It's under Lloyd Companies. There's a few different apartment owners in it.
So did they see your business plan as presented to us with the 4 a.m. delivery service and is that something that they saw as part of the lease agreement?
So the occupants are aware of the business plan, they're aware of your hours, they're aware of what you're going to do with that business, and there's not an opposition to that?
I personally did not tell any, I didn't have meetings with any of these tenants or anything like that. As far as the realtors and the owners talking to them, I don't know. I couldn't answer that question.
I think the issue last month, I think there was a neighborhood meeting, and I think
Well, I think Anita has a good point that this is a developing neighborhood. And what we do here tonight would set some precedents on what possibly could go forward down there. And I would hate to throttle future entrepreneurs down there, feeling that you can only be open till 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock. So I'm going to have a hard time supporting this.
I have a question for staff, if I could. The process, once you have a conditional use permit that has a stipulation for operating hours, what would be the process if you didn't like those hours and you want to come back and change those?
I'm going to defer to my colleague. Well, in the past, we've kind of depended on the complaint system to take care of that. Any complaints that accumulate over a period of time show that the conditional use permit may be in violation of some of the terms that you understood when you approved it. And so we ask for a rehearing or a new hearing on that conditional use permit to determine if there is some validity to the complaints and whether it's still acting in the way that you approved it. If it is not, then you have the prerogative to go and revoke or request a revocation of that.
What I was asking is if Andrew would determine that he wants to change the hours that he's open, can he come back to planning to revise the stipulation on the hours?
He can. It would be a new conditional use permit because he's making a change in the business plan that was presented to you.
Steve, if through the complaint system there are numerous complaints and it comes back before us for that reason to look at, could we set hours then?
Could then.
We set a stipulation at that point?
And I think we have one example of that over on 11th Street where it came back for a hearing, came back for revocation, went forward to the council with recommendations. New additional stipulations were put on it, and it was then approved, or reapproved, I should say, with those new stipulations. So there is a process for doing that. It just, you hate to take all of that time to work through it, but eventually it does get worked through.
Thank you.
Steve, did downtown Sioux Falls contact any of the staff today in regards to these?
Not that excuse me, Erica could answer that question.
Erica Beck, City Planning Office. Yes, I did have a conversation with Dan Sadema today. He was also made aware of all three of the applications for the same type of situation within downtown Sioux Falls. Right after the applications came in, we do have those conversations. Dan usually waits until he receives complaints from surrounding residential property owners or business owners or concerns before he requests that the applicant actually has a neighborhood meeting. In this instance, this is part of the Uptown at Falls Park project, which is a brand new project that's going on the northern part of downtown Sioux Falls. And so what we've been trying to do is encourage, people to come in and actually work and try to get into these buildings so that they can move forward with their new construction as well. I can happily answer any other questions that you might have, but Dan did tell me that he did not receive any complaints or questions from anyone regarding any of the applications for conditional use permits for on sale within downtown for this month.
Thank you.
All right, is any other commission discussion? If not, we have a motion and a second for item 17, and there's three stipulations, the third one being the business hours, Sunday through Thursday, closing at 11 p.m., and Friday and Saturday nights till 12 midnight. If there's no other further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
So, item 17 has not been passed. Is there a substitute motion?
I move for approval of item 17 with the two-step stipulations as submitted.
I'll second.
All right, there's a motion and a second for approval of a conditional use permit with the two stipulations that staff was recommending. Is there any commission discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Item 17 is approved. Our next item will be item 18, conditional use permit in the C3 Central Business District for on-sale alcohol as accessory use to a restaurant at 210 South Main Avenue. Staff report, please.
Good evening, Commissioners and audience. My name is Steve Rand. I'll be representing staff on this item and others this evening. The applicant is proposing here to occupy a former restaurant that did have an on-sale alcohol license with a new restaurant establishment, Mexican grill, and on-sale alcohol accessory use to the grill menu. Applicants and owners are represented by Ramirez Incorporated and Stacy Newcomb Properties. And this is located on Main Avenue. There is a remodeling project currently underway. Perhaps you've noticed that they're also doing some stuff to the front of the building, and it is a historic structure. So it's gone through the process of getting the necessary approvals downtown. Basically, the Garasco's Authentic Mexican Grill menu is provided in the application with seating for 70 people at tables, and the applicant has indicated that they would be agreeable to restricted hours of business. They intend to have a restaurant and not a bar. Staff finds that the proposed use is not creating an undue concentration of similar uses in this area and is not an area where children could be expected to frequent, patronize, or recreate, and it is compatible with the characteristics of surrounding uses and not injurious to surrounding properties. Therefore, we are recommending approval with two stipulations approved for this applicant only and a security management plan approved by the crime prevention officer prior to business opening. I believe the applicant is here this evening to respond to any questions. That concludes staff report.
Any questions for Steve? Thanks, Steve. Is the applicant here, please?
Hi, I'm Stacy Newcomb. I'm the owner of the building. I'm here with the Ramirez family, and they are operating the business.
Any questions for Stacy?
Stacy, in your building, do you have any rental property in the upstairs?
We will have one unit upstairs.
Are you concerned at all? Do you have an agreement with these folks as far as their hours of business?
We haven't set a formal agreement, but the operation is for a family Mexican restaurant that their operation will be from about 11 in the morning till about 9 in the evening. They may want a little flexibility with their time, but they don't anticipate being open past 10 or 11 at the very latest, I would say, on the weekend, but probably earlier.
Will you address that in your lease with these folks, do you think, Stacy, for your tenants'
We
protection?
could. Yeah, we could for the tenant upstairs.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone from the audience care to speak on this item? If not, is there commission action on item 18?
Mr. Chair, I would make the motion for approval of item 18 with the two stipulations.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any commission discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Item 18 is approved with the two stipulations. Now, go to item 28. There's a review of conditional use permit in C3 Central Business District to allow an on-sale alcohol establishment at 201 North Weber Avenue. Staff report, please.
This is a review of a conditional use permit that the Planning Commission approved last year. The business has been providing on-sale alcohol for the past 6 months, and the condition was that a 6-month review would be required of the conditional use. This review is basically showing you the same report that was presented at the public hearings before, unless otherwise noted. And the City Police Department was contacted to see if there have been any calls. They have not recorded any calls to this location dealing with the on-sale alcohol aspect of the business, and the City Zoning Office has not received any complaints concerning the business with their on-sale alcohol conditional use permit. Therefore, we've asked the applicant to be present tonight to answer any questions you might have. Otherwise, you can vote to receive the report with no further action. And that would be our recommendation.
Any questions for Steve? Thank you.
Steve, one question, Steve. I know there was a concern about the closeness or proximity of Union Gospel Mission, so there haven't been any comments from them either way?
No, we look to our police department and our zoning officers to record any comments that would come from anyone in the neighborhood, but especially from them.
Thank you, Steve. Is the applicant here, please?
Good evening, Jamie Simcoe, 200 East 10th Street. I'm the attorney for Latitude 44. And Cindy Evans is with me.
Cynthia Evans.
Do you have anything to add?
If you've got any questions, we're here to answer them.
Any questions for either one of these folks?
Just a comment. I think you've got a nice operation, and no calls in 6 months is a good testament to that. So thank you.
Thank you.
It's been a good addition to the area.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Anyone from the audience care to speak on this item?
Name is John Englehart, Architectural Guild, but in this case I'm the president of the board of directors for the Union Gospel Mission. You've seen my face before on this subject before. The area of interest, I hear the comments of support. Unfortunately, I would like to be one of those that would say I would support it. On 2 occasions I've been there late at night asking patrons to leave our parking lot. We are now going to have to securitize that parking lot with gates and fencing. We're going to have to control it. We've had individuals in the mission complain of the noise that has occurred from the facility at night. I understand it exists. They've gone through the correct channels. We had verbalized about 6 months ago the concerns that we have as the Union Gospel Mission. We remain on those concerns. Right now, we have parking that occurs in our lot from others. We have not contacted others, nor have we towed anyone. I have confronted graciously individuals and asking them to please do not park here any longer. But that has occurred in the past. I was not aware of this evening meeting tonight on this subject. I'm here for a different subject. I understand is that 6 months has transpired, and I may be one of those voices in the wilderness saying, I wish we wouldn't do this. But that's where the Union Gospel Mission stands. We still stand on the fact that we have definite difference of opinion. Any comments?
Questions for John?
John, you said that you went through the channels. Did you call the police then on those issues?
No, I did not go through, I did not, okay? Is that I parked in the parking lot and confronted individuals carefully and asked them as they tried to leave our parking lot to not park here any longer on that regard.
But there may be new people coming in that wouldn't know that, so that's what you had. Maybe if you had called the police, they could have posted it or had some recommendation for you.
You know, is that the Union Gospel Mission for over 107 years has been trying to stay under the radar. Is that we have our own problems. We have people with a whole set of different problems. We're not going to try to create waves, but I still need to go on record with you. I know you have a strong feeling about the importance of doing this. We have verbalized on multiple occasions, as you remember, my concerns and our concerns. We still remain there exactly. So right now, noise Yes. Parking violations? Yes. Is that, is it a perfect world? No. So, have I complained to the police? No. We intentionally did not. Did I confront the owners of the building? No, I did not. I would say probably by and large, they have no desire to see my face. So the reality is that we have not confronted anybody other than the patrons that were in violation of our parking lot.
John, do you have signage to say that it's for Union Gospel Mission parking only in the lot there?
No, we haven't. We have not done that. What we are going to do, we have obtained bids for providing a fence, a wrought iron fence around the perimeter with gates to securitize the property, and we will implement that and do that. So we will exercise that right. I know sometimes is that I feel it's unnatural or unnecessary to have to say, this is my property, please stay off. It's abundantly clear. But some of the patrons chose to not do that. That is not to respect.
And that's the parking lot issue. People aren't coming on your property other than just the parking lot?
It's the most convenient parking lot. It almost appears as if it's their parking lot, which is part of our concern and had been our concern when this first started. And we were told that, oh no, we're going to park down in the railroad center that's 3 blocks to the west, or we'll park on the street, or we'll park in other approved parking. We'll never violate your parking lot. That has not occurred. They have violated our parking lot. And so the reality is that, like I said, I wasn't anticipating this even to come before us tonight, nor was the mission notified as far as I can tell. And as a president of the board, I should be notified. So it may have no change on your opinion. It may have no change on your decision. The reality is we'll still be the voice out there saying, this is not good for us.
Any other questions for John?
Maybe just a comment. I am sorry to hear your story tonight, John. And unfortunately, our communication comes from a lot of times the public perception of the environment, or through police reports, complaint reports, and so on and so forth. So, and sometimes that's the only information that we have to, validate how we think something that we've approved is going forward. So that's the unfortunate part for me, is that it sounds like there are challenges and issues down there, but no real documentation inside our process to help understand that. And
I understand. Is that I could be belligerent and I could have called a towing company. I could have. Chose not to. When you're sitting there coming home from work at 11:30 at night and you go past it and see the violations, you pull into the parking lot to try to control it, it's not friendly. It's not nice to do those sort of things, have someone's car towed. We live in the community too. We don't want to do that. Is that my particular office is across the street from a bar. There are unique factors that occur with that. I'm not saying latitude 44 that has occurred, but I have gone back to work late at night and have had beer bottles thrown at me and broken onto my building, where a wedding bachelor party has occurred, and I confronted them. It's sort of intimidating to stand around 20 guys after having thrown a beer bottle at me and it busted against my building. And I say, fine, I'll just call the police, which I did. However, they disbanded early and quickly. So the reality is I clean it up, I pick it up, and I do that almost every weekend for the bar that's across the street of my building. I'm not sure that has any bearing on latitude 44, but there's a lot of things that happen in and around alcohol establishments that you don't really know about, whether it's urination, in dark areas, whether it's worse, or whether it's just debris and broken bottles. So the reality for me is that you're going to decide I sense that you'll make a decision that you feel is appropriate. We have to go on record again. This is not right. This is not good for our people, nor is it, in my opinion, good for the area. They own the building. They have obtained approval to do so. Fine. I'm here tonight just to say this is still a problem.
John? There'll
Yes,
be
sir.
another review in 6 months. I don't know if they're required to post that. I think this is a condition of their approval. Originally was a 6-month review and a 1-year review.
Right. Not a problem. Like I said, I don't want to create waves. I know they've made an investment there. I understand that. But we're making investments in guys' lives and ladies' lives every day of the week. And for 107 years, we've done so. So you say you're getting emotional about this, Englehart. Yeah, I am. I feel strongly about it. So take it for what it's worth.
Thank you, John. Anyone else care to speak on item 28? Okay, if not, is there commission action? And I guess we're looking for a vote to receive, a motion and second, and then a vote to receive the report.
Mr. Chair, I would make a motion to accept the report, the 6-month report. But I think it's important to be noted that Mr. Englehart's comments being noted by the applicant and the operators that there are some parking violations going on, and perhaps they could work with their neighbors to make that better.
Okay, if there's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second. All right, motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The report has been received. Item 29 is a future land use amendment allowing changes in future land uses to add an allocation of residential, multifamily, and mixed-use future land uses at southeast corner of East 57th Street and South Sycamore Avenue. Staff report, please.
The applicant is proposing to allocate allowed future land uses for a mixed-use, multifamily, and single-family residential subdivision and development. Clint Ackerman and Signature Homes are the applicants and owners. It's a 70-acre site and is currently agricultural. They are planning for a transitioning of land uses at a future very heavy traffic intersection with low-density transitions to low-density development to be compatible as provided for in the 2015 growth plan for development and growth of the city. Therefore, staff is supporting the plan as a proposed development in response to changes in market conditions as well as in traffic, circulation, the major street plan, and so on. Sanitary sewer is available to the site, and the applicant has been notified of conditions that they need to address in the preliminary subdivision plan and the zoning of the property. Therefore, staff is recommending approval. We've not had any calls from neighboring property owners on this. That concludes staff report.
Any questions for Steve?
Steve, I should probably know this being on the CIP, but has the Sycamore been improved into that neighborhood?
Sycamore? No.
So access is going to be off 57?
Until they can show that access and utilities can be extended to the property for subdivision and zoning, the property will remain undeveloped.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Steve. Is the applicant here, please?
Spencer Ruff, 503 West Bramble Circle. Mr. Ackerman unfortunately has a family situation that he needed to take care of tonight, so he asked me to come down and address any issues that you may have.
Any questions for Spencer? Okay, thank you. Anyone from the audience care to speak on item 29? If not, is there commission action?
I'll move for approval of item 29.
A second?
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Item 29 is recommended for approval. Item 30 is a future land use amendment allowing changes in future land uses to add an allocation of residential and parks, open space, future land uses at Southeastern Avenue and East 69th Street. Staff report.
This parcel is located just to the east of the intersection that you just described at Southeastern and East 69th Street. The purpose is the applicant is requesting the amendment to allow for future development of multifamily, single-family, transportation, utilities, and parks and open space land uses. The size of the parcel is 80 acres, and the applicant is Ted Toms of TV Real Estate. The applicant, the current plan is showing higher density multifamily residential along both East 69th Street and to the south where the future South Dakota 100 highway will be installed, which allows for a lessening of the density towards low density residential as you move further into the site. Utilities will be available to the site. However, the applicant is required to provide cost recovery for the east side sanitary sewer after city council approval and prior to any plats. The applicant should also be in contact with the Public Works Department regarding the timeline for future improvements to Southeastern, East 69th Street, and the future South Dakota 100. Because the subject application accommodates future land uses and proposed developments are consistent with the physical characteristics of surrounding neighborhoods that have been proposed, staff recommends approval of the future land use amendment.
Any questions for Dave?
David, do you know the timeline on 69th or Southeastern as far as the development of those two streets?
I do not at this time. I don't believe that they're scheduled for this year, though, but like as the previous application, this is a future land use amendment, and prior to any rezoning or development of the parcel, those improvements will have to be installed.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you. Is the applicant here, please?
Ted Toms, 612 East Tan Terrace Circle. Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure why I'm even here. My partner and I gave Mr. Dunlap $25,000 a couple months ago to handle all of our zoning issues. And so, just a little joke later. There.
It's not that funny, Ted.
I was just hoping Sandy was watching at home.
Anything to add, Ted? No? Okay, how about questions?
Ted, what is the plan for 69th and Southeastern? Do you have any idea?
We're in the middle of negotiating a development agreement with the city that would incorporate the completion of those streets to a certain extent yet this year. For that acceleration of street activity, we will be loaning the city, and under this development agreement, $1.7 million for about 9 months at no interest. We will be donating 4 acres for the overpass. And so we've, to this point anyway, negotiated on a situation where we can move up the infrastructure by accommodating the city in certain other areas.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Ted.
Thank you.
Anyone else care to speak on this item?
Good evening, Tim Stenberg, 5024 South Borough. I just wanted to voice my support for this item. I'm a firm believer in possibly expediting the improvements, especially on the east-west on 69th, and especially in front of the Sioux Falls Christian School. And I'm hoping that this will expedite those improvements on 69th.
Any questions for Tim?
Tim, didn't we approve a multifamily development for you a couple months ago on Southeastern?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So you're waiting for Southeastern also to...
Yeah, that portion of Southeastern is actually in the CIP. It's going to be done this summer. But I'm highly in favor of improving 69th through Southeastern.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else care to speak on this item? If not, is there commission action on item 30?
I'll move for approval.
After the comment Ted made, I don't dare second that.
Yeah.
All right, we got you covered over here, Ken. There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Item 30 is recommended for approval. Item 31 is rezoning from the RA1 residential district to the MH manufactured home district to reflect current land uses at 2001 East 33rd Street and 3140, 3136, 3134 North Lewis Avenue. Staff report.
This is a city-initiated rezoning, as you said, to reflect current land uses. The subject property is currently zoned RA1 residential district. The RA1 district does not allow manufactured homes in that area, and those are existing on site, which renders them non-conforming uses. This rezoning petition, as I said, is to change the zone to reflect what is on site. But because the subject application reflects those land uses, we are recommending approval of this item.
David, just to clarify, it's 33rd Street North, correct?
Yes.
Okay, that's left out of the
Yes.
the agenda. It's 2001 East 33rd Street North.
Right.
Okay. Any questions?
Dave, I drove up there today trying to find this property, and I couldn't find it, but be that what it may, it's an existing mobile home now.
Yes. Yep. There are 3, I believe, on site right now.
On
So,
site.
On the site. This is about half of a block that has 3 existing manufactured homes that we are looking to reflect the current land use of.
And so one of the homeowners wants to replace it with a new.
Right, and she's got a petition that will be later on the agenda.
Okay, thank you.
This one is just.
This is
item
just for the
to-
rezoning from the city. Yep.
Just to bring it up
Yep,
to
this
what
is-
it actually is.
Right, exactly.
Thank you. Is the applicant here, please?
I can
Oh,
represent
yeah,
them.
okay, thank you. You're the applicant, all right, and staff report, all right.
Oh, we have a lot of questions for the applicant.
Is there anyone from the audience who cares to comment on item 31?
Good evening. My name is Damian Morbin, 2002 East 33rd Street North. Instead of a statement, I have a question. In relation to the other 3 properties listed, I just want to make sure that they would also have to bring in new trailers and set them on foundations if they were to change properties.
Do you want to comment on that, Dave?
Well, this is, what inspired this is the petition that's coming forward later, is the petitioner would like to be able to replace her manufactured home. They don't have to do anything because of this rezoning. It's just to reflect the current land use. But what it will allow them to do is replace it without going through a process that the later petitioner has had to go through to come before you tonight, to be able to replace her existing home. So.
Did that answer what you were looking for?
Would they be able to replace their trailer with older trailers?
We don't, that would have to go through the zoning department. I think that there are standards, but I don't know what they are as to what age those trailers have to be.
Mr. Chair, isn't the question the gentleman from the audience is asking really related to the future item, more so than the rezone?
Well, I think he was questioning all of the 4 parcels.
Jeffrey Schmidt from the city planning staff. And it is in reference to the item later in the agenda, because the item later in the agenda is required because it's currently not zoned manufactured housing. This gentleman's question is, once it gets zoned MH, are they allowed to bring in older units than there is existing? No, they're not. They have to bring in units that meet today's codes and standards.
Jeff?
That's it? All right.
Jeff?
Jeffrey?
By today's codes and standards, will this be a home that'll be put on a foundation?
I would assume so, but I don't have the code in front of me.
I know this was an area that was annexed in, there's a lot of
Right.
existing property there, but you guys are recommending approval if we replace it with a new modular home.
Correct.
Could that process not go on forever?
Yeah, with updated, correct. Each time it'd be an updated to the new standards.
And that's okay as far as
correct,
planning
because
is
it continues to give us affordable housing and opportunities for people to increase their housing stock.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Jim.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. All right. Is there anyone else that wants to comment on item 31? Okay, if not, is there commission action for the rezoning?
I'll move for approval of item 31.
I will second.
There's a motion and a second. Any commission discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Item 31 is recommended for approval. Item 32 is a rezone from the RD Residential District to the I-1 Light Industrial District for construction of a warehouse at 2nd Street between Hudson and Harlem Avenue. Staff report.
The applicant is proposing to rezone, as you said, in order to construct a warehouse. Neighboring land uses to the north include a single-family residential district in the RD district. Those are existing homes. To the south, there's warehousing in the I-1 light industrial district. The east is vacant in the office district, and the west is vacant in the RD residential district. The 2015 Growth Management Plan states that within the urbanized area, the city should strive to retain older neighborhoods as assets. To prevent urban decay, the city should maintain suitable transition zones between low-density residential areas and more intensive land uses. The applicant has indicated in the submitted site plan 2 access points from West 2nd Street. There is concern regarding the placement of industrial traffic onto the local street, and staff would encourage the applicant to explore the possibility of shared access. This is not a development plan, however, and we don't have the ability to review that at this time. We're looking to see if the rezoning is appropriate for the area. And this parcel has essentially been surrounded by existing uses that they're proposing to continue. Because of that, we are recommending approval of the rezoning. I can answer any questions.
Any questions for David?
At this point, have you been given any indication of what kind of a warehouse facility this is and the transport in and out and what that might entail?
Well, we haven't, other than the site plan, just with the 2 access points, and we don't know the exact what will be warehoused at the site.
Do you know the status of the application for the daycare?
I do not. I have not been updated yet whether that's been approved or not. There is an application for a daycare in the residential district, just I think about 2 or 3 houses just to the north of West 2nd Street.
Mr. Chair, if you look at the site plan, the loading docks and all the parking are on the south side, and it appears that it's, for the most part, a benign warehouse wall and landscaping between the building and the neighboring residential. So.
Thank you, Dave. Is the applicant here, please?
Lanny Oranger with Innovative Design, 3800 West Technology Circle. I guess I'd like to add that we did have a neighborhood meeting. The concerns that the neighbors, the ones that showed up, there was only 4. The ones that showed up was in regards to traffic. Meredith was correct. We've really oriented the building facing to the south. The owner of this parcel of property is the same owner of the warehouses to the south. So the recommendation to try to divert as much traffic through the south area and out on the 3rd Street rather than the 2nd Avenue is our intent with the layout. Anita, to answer your question, it's a speculative warehouse. There's no tenant that's not being built for anybody at this point, and we don't know if it'll be built 6 months from now or 3 years from now type of a deal. So.
Sure. And Meredith is right. I mean, the orientation of the building and how you've designed it, that's not really the concern. It would be the traffic and the hours of the traffic coming and going, and I'm sure that you understand that piece.
Absolutely. It was one of our concerns as well. Again, if we knew who the tenant would be, we may be able to address that better at that time. but at this point, we don't know who they are. It's not a real big warehouse. It's 18,000 square feet, actually a little over 18,000 square feet. The other warehouses that are in that area have very minimal traffic, 1 or 2 trucks a day, pretty much. Really what came out of our neighborhood meeting was last summer, they had some storm sewer reconstruction that extended down to the west of 2nd Street, and there was lots of truck traffic at that time, and it wasn't something that was very accommodating to the neighbors, and so they were really concerned that we not bring that kind of traffic as well.
Well, we're just always challenged when we're trying to put industrial up against residential, and the reality that it's a possibility that it might be something that's dropping off at 4 a.m. or picking up at, and those kinds of situations just, when they reveal themselves to that neighborhood, become problematic.
Understood.
Any other questions? Thank you. Anyone from the audience care to speak on this item?
Hi, I'm Rick Larson. I live at 900 North Harlem. I guess I speak for myself and several of the neighbors. Our main concern is the driveways coming off of Harlem and Hudson. That's our main concern. As far as the warehouse, we're not concerned about that. We don't want the traffic going through our neighborhood, the trucks at 4 a.m. We had that last year when 2nd Street was extended because of Helen was under construction. We had many semis coming through there. It's very dangerous. It's not much fun. I've lived there for 25 years. We don't like the semis going through there and trying to raise our kids, our grandkids. We'd like to see the driveways be closed off going to the north. We'd like them to keep their complex, keep their traffic in their complex, and we would like to see the traffic go out to the east on Kiwanis and to the south in their complex. That's our main. As far as the warehouse, I really don't care.
Okay. Questions for Rick?
Rick, are there currently trucks using this street to access the other warehouses to the south? Or?
At one time, 2 years ago, they did construction on 3rd Street there by Carousel Gate, and they cut through the lawn and exited out through there. And the owner of the property did not like that, and we did not like it, so he put fence posts there to stop it. So that was very nice of him to do that, to stop it, because there would be semis that would unload and then cut through there and come up. And it's all hours of the afternoon or whatever. It's not designed for semis. Last year, a semi or a truck hit my car and pushed it 57 feet. 25 years I've lived there, I've never had anything hit. So that's for last year when all the truck traffic. There's people that have lived there for 50 years, and it's a quiet neighborhood, and we would like to keep it that way. I guess if the driveways have to go in there for the warehouse, and then we'd rather see it stay zoned the way it is and use it the way it is. We don't mind the cars and stuff. We do not want the trucks.
Any other questions for Rick? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Did you want to?
My name is Marilyn McCollar. I live at 816 North Harlem Avenue. I'm a neighbor of Rick. I wasn't able to go to the neighborhood meeting, but I do want to reiterate what Rick has said about I have no objections to the warehouse whatsoever. The problem is the traffic. That's what I'm concerned about. We do have a nice, quiet neighborhood, and we want to keep it that way. And when they did the new drainage system, it was almost unbearable. It was 24 hours of semis and problems and dust and dirt and things like that. So I do want to reiterate what Rick said. So thank you very much.
Hang on just a second. Are any questions for Marilyn?
Mr. Chair, Marilyn, the disruption caused by the construction.
It wasn't the construction, it was the semis, and not just the construction semis, it was other. See, I think what happens, and I've only lived here like 8 years in this neighborhood. Many semis try to avoid Madison and Kiwanis because of the traffic. So therefore, what they're doing, if they're coming down Madison Avenue, they're cutting down through Harlem, or they're cutting down through Hudson to avoid that corner. And I know a family that lives on the corner, and those lights have been taken out a few times by a tractor trailer trying to turn the corner. So as a result, then they come down our street.
But that's not related to
The
warehouse development?
No, but we just don't want an excessive amount of traffic on our street. Thank you.
Marilyn?
Yes.
The current zoning on this is RD, which would allow for apartments to be built there. Do you feel if there were apartment complex there, that could also create a fair amount of traffic for the neighborhood?
Oh, I'm sure it could. Yeah.
And Anita hit it just right when she said this is always a challenge. The RD, of course, was designed to be a buffer between the industrial and single family. I know the current operator of this particular establishment, I think, is an awfully good operator, and that's the only thing I think the neighborhood might want to give just a little thought to is, are we better with something like this, or the alternative would be multifamily?
Sure.
Apartment buildings.
Sure. Thank you very much.
All right,
Thank you.
Anyone else care to speak on this item? We'll take just one more here, and we'll close public testimony.
Jerry Jones. I live at 2731 West Madison on the north end of the block. And I'd just like to say that I wouldn't like the truck traffic coming down through there again either, that there was too much of it when they had the construction on the other end. But as far as the warehouse, I'm not objecting to that, just the truck traffic.
Any questions?
The truck traffic that would be coming to this particular building is your concern?
Yeah, if they use them two streets, Hudson and Harlem coming down to it, that would be rather than coming off of Kiwanis or Third.
There's some other buildings there. I'm assuming that they're using another street to access those.
Off of Third Street and then coming back into the north.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, we're going to close public testimony on this one.
Can we talk to Lanny again?
Sure. Well, let's have one more.
Evening, Darwin Slutton, 2410 West Old Yankton Road. I'm the owner of that property there, and I certainly sympathize with the homeowners there for what took place last year. It was a nonstop rodeo of trucks going through there. Not only trucks, but all the traffic that came from further west that had no other choice but to go right through there. It was not good, and it was dangerous. But what we proposed here is like day and night compared to what they experienced last year. This is a smaller warehouse. The amount of traffic would be very minimal, and we would encourage any tenant to use the two south routes out of there. So I just can't emphasize enough that it really is quite different than what they experienced last year. And I know they know that, but they don't know, what might come up in this building and so on and so forth. But being the owner of the property for the last 25 plus years, we're very careful with our tenants, and we try to make sure that they're good neighborhood tenants as well. And of course, we exercise a certain amount of authority over what they do, since they pay the rent to us. So, thank you.
Hang on just a second. Any questions, Redon?
I do. I think my concern is to the two access points onto 2nd Street, and that if we approve your rezone tonight, and this is the plan that you show up with as your final plan, that this neighborhood will again show up in opposition of this plan because of those access points. And I'm wondering how you feel about their concern that there's already truck traffic moving down Hudson and Harlem, and if this building exists, won't that indeed facilitate moving down Hudson and Harlem because those access points are exactly...
There's very little truck traffic that I've witnessed, and I'm out there a lot, coming down Harlem from Madison and, say, turning east and going on Kiwanis.
But if I'm reading your overall development correctly, won't it allow all of your other warehouses that same egress point?
Absolutely not.
As a possibility?
Absolutely not. No.
There
even in my lease to every other tenant in those warehouses, they cannot use that, and I would not allow them to use that access. They must use 3rd Avenue or exit onto Kiwanis between 609 and 709 building.
Is there a physical barrier that stops them, or just a business barrier that doesn't do that because the driveways connect through?
Yeah, if we put that building in there, it's easy for us to put a physical barrier in addition to, stating in the lease that they must exit on 3rd or Kiwanis, not on 2nd Street or Harlem.
Darwin, do you also own the vacant piece of ground right to the east of this proposed building?
Yes, I do, and the city has told us up front that they don't like access to Kiwanis Avenue any more than is absolutely necessary, and so one would only assume that if they won't allow us access on that piece of property to Kiwanis, that it would be necessary to access 2nd Avenue there, and that's zoned for office currently. We have no current plans, but office is probably what we would put in there at some point when the office market turns around a little bit. So that would be an access route for office there.
Darwin, have you and Lanny looked at this and tried to figure a way to access it out to the south? I sympathize with the neighbors a little bit here.
Yeah.
It's a nice
One of the
neighborhood.
problems accessing to the south, I must be very honest with you, and we can encourage that, but should there be a truck that's blocking between those two big warehouses because they're backed into a dock, they couldn't go through there maybe 10% of the day or 20% of the day or something. But they can go down through the east side of the 2700 building and access either Kiwanis or 3rd Avenue there. But again, this is not large warehouse. It'd probably be divided into 2 spaces, and I know I have Holt Supply in 8,000 square feet at the 709 building, and they have one straight truck, and they come and go about twice a day. And that's what I think would be the most common scenario for any traffic at all. I really don't think that the neighborhood would really hardly notice any difference in what currently is passing for traffic there.
You had a neighborhood meeting with these folks, and they still
Yes, we
have
did.
some concerns. And
We did have a neighborhood meeting with them, and we take great care of our property, and we have, again, authority over anybody that we lease to, and I thought we had a very good meeting, and their concern is, naturally, they don't want the heavy traffic, or nor do the people who presented that potential case tonight, and we understand that. And I do not feel at all that there would be, that you could consider what might happen to be heavy traffic in any way, but intermittent light traffic from that warehouse.
thank you, Darwin.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now we'll shut off the public testimony and look for commission action on item 32.
Mr. Chairman, I would recommend approval of this rezone. I think that we hear and understand the neighborhood concerns, but that was relating more to a construction issue that created a lot of traffic on that road. The way the building is orientated, the access points, and that's the size of the structure would probably limit the number of truck traffic, especially large truck traffic going in and out of there. So I would recommend approval of the rezoning.
Second. All right, there's a motion and a second. Any further commission discussion?
I'm not sure I'm going to support it. I guess I certainly know this operation. It's a good operation. I think we do have light industrial. We're asking it to come right up against residential. And it's a nice little residential neighborhood in there. I know to replat something today, I don't think we'd allow it to happen on a new development. I think if there was a way to get the traffic out to the south, I think the neighbors wouldn't be here tonight. Without knowing who the tenant's going to be, what the traffic's going to be, they've got some concerns, and I appreciate their concerns.
I can support tonight primarily because I think the neighborhood has told us that they're okay with the warehouse. They're telling us that they're okay with the rezoning. So I'm comfortable moving forward on the rezoning. I'm very interested when we get to the final development piece and how this actually lays out, and we're back here again, you know, what the comments will be at that time. You're shaking your head.
I would like to be sure that we get a chance, if that were to pass, that we get a chance. And I think Jeff shaking his head. I think this is a straight zone.
Straight zone, this is it.
That's in the PD.
Oh.
That would be allowed use in my own district.
Any other discussion?
Mr. Chair, I can't say this for sure, but we've certainly had our items over the years that come in as apartments that fit in the existing zone. And there you may not have as much of the truck traffic issue, but you'd have the potential for a lot of other traffic, cars parked down the streets and those sorts of things. And we're not here to weigh the benefits to the neighborhood of one or the other. But I guess if I was living in that neighborhood, I would rather have an 8 to 5 business, hopefully, that was properly managed than as many apartments as you could put on those two pieces of property.
Yeah, again, I thought we'd have one more chance, but I haven't heard the neighborhood say that they're opposed to the warehouse. So I would probably stand in support of this tonight.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I would also comment that there was some neighborhood comments about truck traffic coming down on those two neighborhood streets. I think the neighbors should be aware that they could certainly enforce that, because I don't think that's illegal for those types of trucks to be using those residential streets to come off of Madison there. So I think they would have some flexibility there and some options of maybe asking law enforcement to help them on that too.
Okay. All right, on item 32, we have a motion and a second, so all those in favor of approval say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Item 32 is recommended for approval. Item 33 is a major amendment to Subarea C, Whisper Ridge Planned Development District to create new Subarea D for RC Recreation Conservation District uses at 5001 South Southeastern Avenue. Staff report, please.
The applicants are represented by Tim Stenberg, Glen Fay Corporation. It's an 8.2 acre change to the initial development plan for this planned development district. The applicant is proposing to revise this initial development plan for Whisper Ridge PD to include a new subarea D for the purpose of RC recreation conservation uses and conservation of existing wetlands. You've seen this project plan before several times in terms of future land use and rezoning and subdivision, and then some development proposals. What we're looking at here now is to take the centerpiece of this residential subdivision and divide off 8.2 acres for agricultural type wetlands use. Currently, it's vacant all the way around the subject property, and the applicant is proposing to present to you this evening sub-area regulations that would control development within it. A final development plan application in sub-area C indicates a walking path being provided along the east side of this new sub-area. The walking path should be included in those sub-area regulations, and the applicant will address that with you this evening as well. At the time of this report, staff did receive from the applicant a proposed sub-area regulation for this area. However, it's not included in your addendum or your report, and the applicant will have to present that to you themselves. Staff has seen the proposed sub-area regulations. They are conventional in nature and certainly appropriate to the use or the current use of the property. And because the application is an amendment of an existing area and the sub-area regulations are similar to conventional zoning, staff is recommending approval of this major amendment as is presented to you this evening. That concludes staff report. We've had no calls from adjacent property owners.
Any questions for Steve? Thank you. Is the applicant here, please?
Hi, Tim Stenberg, 5024 South Borough Place. Here to answer any questions that
any questions
you might
for Tim?
have.
It's not. Thank you. Anyone from the audience care to speak on this item? Now is there commission action?
Move for approval.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Item 33, major amendment, is recommended for approval. Item 34 is a conditional use permit in the C2 General Commercial District for a restaurant with on-sale alcohol as an accessory use at 1100 West 12th Street, Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
As you stated, the applicant is requesting the conditional use permit. This is to add on-sale alcohol as an accessory use to an existing restaurant. You'll have to forgive me if I pronounce this wrong, but I believe the restaurant's name is Po Quinn. It's a Vietnamese restaurant at the corner of West 12th Street and Grange Avenue. Staff is generally in support of this application. There is a youth church facility on the northwest corner of this block. We have not been advised that they've been contacted regarding the issue, regarding this application. There is an existing liquor license directly adjacent to the north of this property for a grocery store use. There are no other school, church, or park facilities within 600 feet of the subject property. One of the concerns that staff has is that there are open, exposed dumpsters on the site and exposed lumber and other trash in the alley behind the subject property. We are recommending that the trash dumpsters be screened as a condition for approval. There are two other conditions. The first is approval for this applicant only. The second is a security management plan to be approved by the crime prevention officer prior to the obtaining of the liquor license, is what the condition should say. It says prior to business opening, and that is my error in writing the report. It should be prior to obtaining the liquor license. And the third condition then would be the screening of the trash dumpsters. But other than that, we are recommending approval of this conditional use permit.
Okay, any questions?
David, did you recommend to these people to have a neighborhood meeting?
We did not.
Why do sometimes we see, I believe, recommendations come from your office to petitioners to have a neighborhood meeting, and other times we don't?
In this case, it was largely because that this was a corridor with existing licenses on it, and the subject use was a restaurant that was in operation, and so we did not tell the applicant at that time.
Okay.
So.
Thanks.
Thank you. Is the applicant here, please? Can you state your name and address, please?
My name is Wang Yan. So I'm looking for the permit seller sell alcohol from 7-Eleven Harvest, Red 12 years.
Did you get the address? Okay. Do we have questions?
The neighbor that you have, that's the youth church, have you talked to them at all? Has there been any issue with them?
No, I didn't, but behind me have the grocery store. They sell the alcohol too.
They serve alcohol too?
Yes. The New Asian food market behind my restaurant.
The grocery store.
Okay, sure. Which is off sale. Off sale.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Anyone from the audience care to speak on this item? If not, is there commission action on item 34?
Mr. Chair, I would move for approval of the conditional use permit with the 3 stipulations.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Item 34, conditional use permit with the 3 stipulations is approved. Item 35 is a special use permit in the Beacon Center Plan Development District for on-sale alcohol as accessory use to a restaurant at 4801 South Louise Avenue. Staff report.
The applicant is proposing to relocate an existing restaurant to the subject property and to provide on-sale alcohol as an accessory use to their food service menu. We do have a menu available to look at, and the applicant is Spezia Incorporated, represented by David Thompson. They are moving to a multi-tenant commercial building at a busy intersection. Currently, their proposal includes a seating capacity indicated as 82 table seats outside the building and 244 bar, table, and booth seats inside the tenant space, as indicated on the floor plan. Typically, staff notes that the minimum parking requirement for a restaurant with a seating capacity of 326 is 109 spaces, and we have advised both the applicant and the building owner that parking is confined to shared use between all of the tenants, and as those tenant makeup tends towards food service and restaurant, parking ratio really should go up to include the proper parking for those uses. However, that's a matter between the tenant and the building owner. The minimum parking requirements are met and satisfied by the zoning ordinance, which was in effect when the building was constructed. Staff finds that the proposed use then would not be an undue concentration of similar uses because of the accessory nature of the alcohol to the restaurant is not in an area where children could be expected to frequent, recreate, or patronize, and is compatible with adjacent uses. Therefore, staff is recommending approval with 2 stipulations: 1, approved for this applicant only, and 2, that the security management plan approved by the crime prevention officer prior to business opening. And that concludes staff report.
Any questions for Steve? Thank you. Is the applicant here, please?
Good evening. I'm Corey Obrent, representing David Thompson. The property is 4801 South Louise.
Anything to add?
No.
Okay. How about any questions from the commission?
Mr. Chair, I just have one question. Will the Spezias continue their Sunday brunch?
We will, yes.
That's an important question.
That's an easy question.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else care to address this item? If not, is there commission action on item 35?
I'll move for approval with 2 stipulations as stated.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Item 35 is approved with the two stipulations. Item 36 is a special use permit in Sub-Area A, Beacon Center Plan Development District to allow an on-sale alcohol establishment northwest corner of 57th and Louise, Beacon Center. Staff report.
This is an application at the same general location in the multi-tenant commercial building in Beacon Center. However, it is not an accessory use. This would be for a bar casino with on-sale alcohol as a tenant in the subject property. Greg Peterson of Martinis Incorporated is the applicant, and Gene Brockmuller would be representing Beacon Center Partners Incorporated. The applicant's plan shows 40 seats for patrons indicated. This is, again, a bar casino and would be limited to the tenant space as shown on the plan and would be sharing the parking with other uses in the commercial center. Because it is the only bar within 600 feet distance, we do not see an undue concentration of similar uses. It also is not in an area where children could be expected to frequent, patronize, or recreate, and is compatible with the associated neighboring uses. Therefore, we're recommending approval with two stipulations. One, approved for this applicant only, and two, a security management plan be approved by the crime prevention officer prior to business opening. We've had no calls from neighboring tenants or neighboring property owners, and that concludes staff report.
Any questions for Steve?
Steve, will the petitioner have to go through the application process at council level?
Yes, they will for a license, for alcohol license and video lottery.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chair, I have one for Steve. In this situation, as you see, as we see this particular center developing with a kind of an equal number of food and beverage services, at what point would you consider more of the same being an undue concentration?
I believe that, speaking for myself, my opinion would be that an undue concentration would constitute not having adequate parking to meet the requirements of all of these businesses. However, that would require a change in our zoning ordinance to actually require additional parking, and so it would be an opinion only.
Thank you.
Other questions? Thank you, Steve. Is the applicant here, please?
I'm Greg Peterson, 801 East 35th Street, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and I would answer any questions.
Any questions for Greg?
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone from the audience who would care to speak on item 36? Okay, if not, is there commission action?
I'll move for approval with the two stipulations.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, if not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Item 36 is approved with the two stipulations. Item 37 is a conditional use permit in the RS2 residential district to construct a duplex at 305 South Foss Avenue. Staff report.
The applicant is Dean Osted, Osted Construction, and Dean had been into our office a couple of years back looking at the same property, trying to figure out how to get a duplex on there and still meet the requirements of the engineering department to stay out of that drainage easement on the back side. At the time, it didn't seem like there was a solution, but now he believes that it has been resolved, and so do the engineers. So he's proceeding with his application to construct a duplex on the property. Because it is irregularly shaped and limited to, as far as development potential goes, that is why he's proposing the duplex. It would be the only duplex in that neighborhood. It is at the end of a street and across from non-residential uses. Therefore, staff agrees that the potential is there for a little increase in density. A duplex seems to be appropriate. We've not had any calls from adjoining property owners or neighbors, and we are recommending approval. The conditional use would have to actually come back to the planning, building and zoning services and do a review with the engineers to verify the fact they would stay out of that drainage easement and meet all other zoning and building code requirements. And that concludes staff report.
Any questions for Steve? Thank you. Is the applicant here, please?
I'm Dean Austed, 39 North Cactus Place, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I guess I would answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions for Dean? Okay, I guess not. Thank you. Anyone from the audience care to speak on this item? If not, is there commission action?
I'll move for approval of item 37.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Item 37, conditional use permit is approved. Item 38 is a conditional use permit in the RA1 residential district to replace an existing manufactured home with a new one at 3140 North Lewis Avenue. Staff report.
This is the application that we had referenced earlier with the city-initiated rezoning to the MH district. This is what inspired that. The applicant is, as you stated, requesting the conditional use permit in order to replace her existing manufactured home with a new one. And the site is currently zoned RA1 residential district, which does not allow manufactured homes, and therefore the home is a non-conforming use. However, within our zoning ordinance, under non-conforming use, a conditional use permit may be granted to authorize the issuance of a permit to allow the enlargement, extension, conversion, reconstruction, or structural alteration of any building, structure, or outdoor use. Specifically, in consideration for the permit, there are 5 criteria which should be given special consideration. The first is the effect on the surrounding property values. The second, impact on traffic and city utility services. The third, the density of land use zoning for the subject and adjacent properties. The fourth, the degree of hardship upon the applicant which would be caused by failure to grant the permit. And the fifth, that it can be demonstrated it was the owner's intent to use the entire premises for said use prior to the adoption or amendment of this type. Basically, what that comes down to is that the applicant is looking to just to replace her existing use with a newer structure that is up to current city code, which is why we are recommending approval of the conditional use permit application. That concludes staff report.
Any questions for Dave?
Dave, just so I understand, we've rezoned this to allow it. Let's say 5 years from now, she wanted to replace it again. Would she have to come back?
She would not. That's why we did the rezoning, to be able to allow the people with that existing use. The problem with waiting and why we didn't want to wait with her application was because it would take until July then for that zoning to be effective. And I believe she wants to move forward quicker than that.
Thank you.
So this really would be unneeded if that zoning
correct. Yep.
would be immediate.
Yep, that is correct.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Is the applicant here, please?
Kim Narum, 3140 North Lewis Avenue. The reason why we also applied for this permit is I'm kind of nervous. My husband has MS. We've looked into getting a governor's home. With the way our lot sets, if you look at the way the mobile home is setting, we have a large ditch in front of our lot, which allows us not to be able to put a governor's home, so our only option would be is to put another manufactured home in. That's all I have to say.
Okay. Any questions for Kim? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone from the audience care to speak on this item? Don't see any, so is there commission action on item 38?
I'll move for approval of item 38.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Item 38, conditional use permit, is approved. Item 39 is the final development plan in Subarea C, Whisper Ridge Planned Development District to construct multifamily housing at Southeastern Avenue and Whisper Trail. Staff report.
Just a moment ago, we did approve a new sub-area in this planned development district that allows for conservation of property, but also includes a walkway path that would be intended to serve this proposed development as well. The applicant is proposing to construct the applicant is Justin Prins of Envision Companies, and the applicant is proposing to construct 11 8-plex apartment buildings, 4 6-plex, 4 4-plex, and 1 duplex building for a total of 130 units on the subject property, which is 11.6 acres. The zoning requirement for density is met because the sub-area regulations include a higher density. Therefore, the plan is very compact. It works off of private roads and shared driveways, has access on both sides of the building to the units, and basically would be subdivided for transfer of ownership as indicated on the plan. Sub-area regulations do allow for front yard reductions of setback to 20 feet along private drives, and the applicant has taken advantage of that. They've also indicated the required buffer treatments of landscaping, berms, tree plantings, minimum height trees, structures being constructed with brick masonry, stucco, and equivalent, and the required parking. So the intent of the sub-area regulations have been complied with. There are some minor discrepancies, but no minor amendments have been applied for. Therefore, when they come in for their building permit, they will have to go through the Zoning and Building Services final plan review and conform to those sub-area regulations. That pretty much concludes staff report, unless you have some questions about the landscaping treatments or the building designs. Staff is recommending approval of the final development plan as in their application. They seem to have met all of the requirements. We do want to add one stipulation, that the approved minor amendment for proposed subdivision be required prior to building permit issuance, and that would be to establish the development plan with lot dimensions, lot area, and required setbacks. And that concludes staff report.
Questions for Steve? Okay, thank you. Is the applicant here, please?
Justin Prins, 5032 Burr Oak.
Everything to add?
No, here to answer any questions.
Any questions for Justin?
You going to start this ship this summer, Justin?
That is the plan.
Looks like a nice plan.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Anyone from the audience care to speak on this item? If not, is there commission action?
Mr. Chair, I'd move for approval on this item with one stipulation.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Item 39, final development plan with one stipulation, is approved. Item 40 is the final development plan in Sub-Area A, Bronto Plan Development District to construct a multifamily housing project at Ebenezer Avenue adjacent to Skunk Creek. Staff report.
The applicant has been before you to accomplish some rezoning in the area to a planned development district, the Bronto PD, with sub-area regulations, and also to discuss, I believe, the nature of the development because of neighborhood concerns about being in the floodplain and having to raise the property to a level to be out of the floodplain. We feel that all of those issues have been addressed engineering-wise, and so the development plan can go forward. The only thing that needs to be finalized yet is the alignment of Ebenezer Avenue, which would establish the western property line of the subject property. In order for them to get a building permit, the property is going to have to be platted to match that alignment, and in that case then zoning and building services can determine that setback requirements are being met and that adequate density is being provided. Right now, to the north, it is vacant, and we've had some concern expressed at the last public hearing about the effect of the realignment of Ebenezer on their property in order to accommodate the proposed development. I believe that those negotiations are continuing. Perhaps there is a representative of the property owner to the north here this evening who would like to speak to that. Otherwise, the plan indicates the required density, parking, setbacks, landscaping in conformance with the sub-area regulations, and also includes recreational improvements, basketball court, and so on, some picnic area equipment. Paul Reynolds is the applicant representing Reynolds Construction Management Services, and Brian Weissman of Bronto LLC. Because the application is an allowed use and otherwise conforms to sub-area A regulations, staff is recommending approval of the final development plan with one stipulation, that the final plat be filed and the site plan be revised to show those property line dimensions for the plan application for a building permit. And that concludes staff report.
Any questions for Steve?
Steve, tell us what would happen if they couldn't come to an agreement on the realigning Ebenezer.
Then the property would not be able to be replatted to conform to the plan that's presented, and would not go forward for a building permit.
Is the process of an agreement that has to be reached between the two parties? Certainly the city's not involved in.
If the realignment affects a third party, then of course they would be involved in that decision. I don't know that it does.
No. Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Thank you, Steve. Is the applicant here, please?
Paul Reynolds with RCM Services, 6809 South Minnesota Avenue. The development, as Mr. Randall was referring to, we have 144 apartment units in this particular complex. Adjoining community room, development with Ebenezer on the west side of the property. The alignment that we have off of Ebenezer, which is in question, and we have had discussions with the property owners to the north. The alignment that we have off of that was actually taken by the approved traffic study that was done back in 2003. I believe SEH was a firm that did it back then. They had 8 alignment structures that were depicted, and this is the alignment that the neighborhood at that particular time had chosen, along with the city's representatives. We have had 2 neighborhood meetings regarding this development. We have been in front of the Planning Commission and the City Council for other things related to this, rezoning, also for vacating of the streets. We have gone through these issues with all of the neighbors in great detail. It is a complicated site due to the new FEMA regulations that came into play recently, or the new elevations that are going to come into play, I guess, here in the future. We are accommodating for those changes. We are raising the site elevation up where our structures are going to be built, so they'll be built above that elevation. Also giving the city, according to the zoning requirements, their 2-foot buffer between the FEMA elevation and where the livable floor space is going to be. So that's what our development is. Anybody have any questions?
Oh, I guess I'm a little surprised that the Ebenezer is still an issue. I thought we had addressed this plan a month ago.
We've actually been addressing Ebenezer. You're correct. I mean, Ebenezer has been an issue on what this is. We are working with our neighbors to the north on this right now, but again, The alignment of Ebenezer that we have gone by for this development is the one that was selected through the traffic study that SEH performed for the city back in 2003. We have not adjusted that. Ebenezer does, at this particular location where it's at, once it crosses our property line, which is, I would refer to the southwest corner of our property, right where the landscaping is, at that particular point, Ebenezer is 100% on the Bronto development property. And it then actually crosses back over right up at where Botel Place is. We do have to plat it. Mr. Randall is correct. We do, because we've just gone through the vacating of the city streets.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Paul.
Thanks.
Anyone from the audience care to speak on item 40? Okay. If not, is there commission action?
I'll move for approval of item 40
I'll second.
Hang on just a second.
as, with the one stipulation in place.
I'll second.
Okay. There's a motion and a second. Any further commission discussion? Okay. If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Item 40, final development plan with one stipulation is approved. Item 41 is the final development plan in subarea E of Granite Valley Plan Development District to construct a building for refrigeration, trucking, and repair at east of the intersection of East Dyke Drive and North Siebert Drive. Staff report.
Applicants and owners are represented by Kerry Shaw, Beckman Construction, and the owner by Bonnie Mogan of Granite Valley. It's a 12-acre site in Granite Valley. It's a planned development district, which is currently vacant to the north, but planned for future single-family residential, and vacant to the south, which would be future industrial development. To the east, it's agricultural, currently outside the city in Minnehaha County, and to the west, future industrial and single-family residential in the planned development district. I've included in your report a number of references to the planned development district for sub-area regulations, which state the intent of development, and also outline a number of ways in which industrial development can be made compatible with adjacent residential uses. Three kind of stand out as far as this particular project is concerned. One being that all motor vehicle surface parking areas adjacent to the residential uses should be screened with a combination of landscape berms and shrubs and fences to a minimum height of 5 feet. Number two, that a 15-foot landscape buffer shall be established between sub-area E, which is adjacent to sub-area B, and three, that a 25-foot landscape berm shall be established where sub-area E is adjacent to sub-area D. The applicant has proposed buffer zones on their site plan. However, staff notes that they do still have to comply with the zoning regulations for front yard setbacks. Therefore, the buffer treatments can be included in the front yard setback, but the front yard setback governs for any improvements on the property, including parking and building. Also, a navigation easement is required in the airport overlay district. Based on the building size, a total of 26 parking spots on hard surfacing is required for visitors and employees. Again, the plan will have to come through the zoning and building services for a final plan check prior to building permit issuance, and they will have to comply with all zoning requirements for parking, setback, landscaping, lighting, and hard surfacing. But it's generally meets the intent of the sub-area regulations, therefore the staff is recommending approval. One thing in your report, I did note that the sign requirement for freestanding, I used the I-1 light industrial requirements, but in checking the sub-area regulations, they indicate C4 commercial regulations apply. Therefore, the allowed signage would be one sign with a sign area of 176 square feet and a sign height maximum of 24 feet would be allowed. Based on 501.9 feet of frontage, And the building signage or wall signage allowed would be 502 square feet rather than the 199, which is indicated in your report. Otherwise, the report can go forward as presented, and staff is recommending approval. We've had no calls from adjacent property owners. Like I say, it's basically undeveloped around it. If you have any questions, the applicants are here to address those. And that concludes staff report.
Any questions for Steve?
Steve, when I look at the landscaping plan and I read through the applicant's description of that, I believe this is you making some comments about a buffer. A better buffer would be to have a change in the grade occur inside the property line with fence trees, berm located at the top of the hill. When you make a suggestion like that, does that become part of the landscaping plan? Or is that just a suggestion from you to the...
It was a suggestion, which seemed obvious at the time, that any screening of a parking lot should occur at the top of the hill rather than at the bottom of the hill from a residential development. But in this case, the top of the hill is outside the property line, so the applicant has no control over that, and technically it meets the requirement.
You don't ask for that to be made part of this in the stipulations?
I would love to ask for that, but I can't.
Okay. Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Steve. Is the applicant here, please?
Good evening. My name is Kerry Shaw. I'm with Beckman Construction. My address is 27067 Tallgrass Avenue. I'm here to represent the future owners, and we are in agreement with the recommendations that the planning staff has suggested, and I'm here to answer any other questions.
Hi, Kerry. How are you? The comments that Steve made on this, apparently it's not... I've discovered Steve to be a very thoughtful, well thought out administrator. Some of the ideas that he puts down here, I hope you'll pay some attention to and maybe follow.
Right. The owners are, as we've talked, we're intending to that north boundary line, which would line up with that future development that's up there, that we would have a berm with trees and or hedge included. We've also looked into putting a 6-foot fence up too, and as well as on our west property line that lines up with North Siebert, is also put a screen area over on that too.
I know that stuff costs money, but it sure
I
makes a
understand.
nice-looking product.
Right. The owners, though, when going into looking at this property, they understood that they wanted to be a little more neighborhood friendly, since there would be those adjoining properties.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Kerry, just a clarification. This is a truck and trailer business?
They are
tractor trailer business?
They are a refrigeration trucking sales and repair.
Right. So the parking is for trailers.
The display area would be in the southwest part of that. If you look where the building is located, the display area with all those dashed parking slots, that's actually your display area, which would line up more with the industrial area to the south.
I don't have any particular problem. I just wanted to make sure this wasn't a contractor that's in the refrigeration business. That's all.
No, I don't believe they are. They're currently located Westport Avenue. They're located on Westport Avenue currently right now.
State your name and address, please.
My name is Steve Nash. I'm with the Professionals Group here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, 3922 Southwestern. Kaiser Refrigeration is out of Sioux City. They currently have a location here on Westport Avenue, directly east of Ramcota. This whole facility will be or this whole area, like Kerry was saying, in the southwest corner, that is all for display, new trailers, and they're customer trailers towards the back or the northeast side, and the parking area along the east side of the building in the south end is for customer and for employee parking. And yes, they fix refrigeration trucks, it's reefers and trailers and that sort of thing. So it's all repair and service for the customers and new sales.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Steve or Kerry? Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Anyone from the audience care to speak on this item? If not, is there commission action?
Mr. Chair, I would make the recommendation for approval of the final development plan with the 3 stipulations.
I'll second that motion.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Item 41, the final development plan with 3 stipulations has been approved. Item 42 is the final development plan in Subarea B of the Merle and Roy's Development Park Addition Plan Development District to construct a general contractor's office and shop at approximately 3410 North Potsdam Avenue. Staff report.
The applicant this evening for this particular project is John Englehart, Architectural Guild, and representing the owner would be Bob Fraser of Simcoe Construction. It's a 2-acre site currently vacant. Does have adjacent development in this Merle and Roy's PD, which is rapidly filling up with new development. Along the interstate here, I-229, we do have requirements that they have to meet in order to put their development in, including pertaining to the materials on the building, landscaping, screening of parking and outdoor storage, and so on. Those are listed in your report as to the specific requirements. And staff has pointed out the areas where we think that the applicant should pay attention to in their final application for a building permit. Again, they will have to go to Zoning and Building Services for a final plan check, and you are not approving anything that is in violation of the I-229 Design Review District this evening or the sub-area regulations of the PD. The things that we've pointed out that the final plat would be required, sidewalk is required to be constructed on North Potsdam Avenue, and we are recommending that a safe and convenient pedestrian pathway be established from the public street right-of-way to the front of the building. The applicant is indicating a very nice office building with complementary landscaping around it up in front, and then a general contractor's type of metal building on the back side. On the back side, that metal building does have to show 50% of the materials facing the I-229 to be of a certain architectural nature, permanence, and they will have to show that. We've only seen one side of the building in the application this evening. All parking and loading areas which are visible from I-229 shall be hard surfaced and screened with an opaque wood fence. The applicant has provided a revised site plan which is not included in your addendum or in your report, and therefore the applicant will have to address that with you this evening. The changes tend to address the staff comments pertaining to landscape screening, but the other items will have to be addressed as well as they come forward with their building permit application. All in all, it looks like a very nice development. We're recommending approval, and we've had no calls from adjoining property owners or in the neighborhood. And the conditions for approval are indicated in your staff report. One, that the revised landscaping plan to conform to the zoning PD sub-area and I-229 design review requirements for required screening of buildings and outdoor storage is the principal one that we are concerned about. That concludes staff report. I can put his plan on the overhead if you would like to see it.
Sure. Are there any questions for Steve? Questions for Steve? Anyone? Okay. Is the applicant here, please?
John Englehart, Architectural Guild, 219 East 12th Street. I applaud your patience. I'm impressed. You made it to the end. This will be brief. Connie, next time, can we get up earlier? Can we get not 42 or 43? We'll try. Okay. Go.
John, you've hung right in there.
What's that?
You've hung right in there tonight.
Even an old man can make it sometimes. Basically, there's a number of interest on this site. We have taken the opportunity to go to our neighbors and passing out the copies that you have so that they're informed, and that involved 5 of the adjacent properties. That was Eagle Landscaping, excuse me, Metro Construction, also Eagle Design Build. Country Hearth was very hard to get access to. They're secure in overall development. So we also visited Sioux Falls Tower office building. So we visited the properties that are adjacent or in immediate proximity to us. Understand the importance and issue of compliance with the I-229 design corridor. We will, of course, comply with that. The issue that had been raised relative to berms and trees, we will comply with that. There is, however, some ambiguity about the intent or mandate or installation of this issue of 50% of the walls facing the I-229 corridor. A few of our neighbors do not comply with that. I'm not pointing fingers, but I'm suggesting that I think the I-229 design corridor allows us to use berms and increase vegetation along that to screen that, but we'll deal with that at the time of building permit. We have a minor concern. There's no sidewalks in the whole area. We'll be glad to put in a sidewalk at the time when everybody else does, but otherwise if we put a sidewalk from basically nowhere to nowhere, it's not going to do a whole lot of good. So not that that's a mandated stipulation, but it's just pointing it out. There's not a lot of traffic pedestrian-wise in that area. But if that is a desire and it is an intent for our property owners to our north and south, we'll comply, no problem. We have modified the tree counts, et cetera, to come in compliance with the comments made. We really don't have any problems with complying with it whatsoever. And so we hope to do just a bang-up job there. Any questions? I told you it's going to be...
John, it's a nice-looking building.
Thank you, Ken.
I'm going to ask Steve about those sidewalks, though. Is a sidewalk a requirement?
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
It's a standard comment, and we're going to include these comments whenever and wherever we can to make our community more pedestrian-friendly and to try to bring the existing industrial developments up to what new industrial development standards are going to be held to for providing sidewalks.
Can you go back to the people that don't have them and have them put it in?
The City Council has actually done that.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you, Steve. Is there anyone from the audience who would care to speak on this item?
I'm Lee Vanderwall with Sun Corner Construction. Just to answer any questions that you've got. Any?
You said Lee?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions for Lee? Guess not.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Since there's no one else here, I think that's it. Call for commission action on item 42.
Move for approval.
Second, with the single stipulation.
Okay. Is there any further discussion?
You know, Mr. Chair, when I first came on this commission, when John Englehart came with these kind of projects, he had some really nice, highly detailed models that he would bring to show us the colors and so forth.
He's saying things have kind of slipped.
But with the new, you know, like... No, John did an outstanding job on those, and he needs to be commended for that, so.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. For item 42, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Item 42, with the one stipulation, is approved. David, do you want one last official
Move
act?
for approval. Move for approval.
For adjournment?
I'll second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.
Thanks, Kenny. Nice work.